Joe Boris is joining us in a moment as he gets set up for a special surprise for this. And yeah, we're going to talk about some Tesla news, some Genesis news, and well, actually, a new Genesis, and just one sec, and also some big electric truck news. So if you have a comment or question for us, you can drop it in the live comments, and we'll try to keep an eye on that as well. But since we're new to this format, it might be something that is hard to keep up with. We'll find out. But for now, let's start with just a quick summary of what this EVObsession Daily is and how it's evolved. So Joe Boris has covered the electric vehicle space for over a decade, and he's been in the electric vehicle space for 2 decades plus. Wow, 2.5 decades. I've been covering the electric vehicle space for over a decade. Tesla since before the Model S came to market, and we have covered electric vehicle news on Clean Technica for that long as well, obsessively every day, publishing 10 or so stories, and it's not quite enough. Also, a lot of people they don't get their news only on the web, only on text articles anymore. People love to get their news on video, so we're trying to consistently and committedly do a news show that's on video format. And we've tried a few different formats, but we're going to be, I think, quite committed to this certain live format that YouTube is now offering. It's sort of a test phase, and where we'll talk face to face. We'll show you cars IRL in real life a bit, close up, and we will agree on a lot, and we will disagree on a lot, because I think we've got different backgrounds and histories and perspectives at times. And because, it should be really a more frequent than once in a while show, we're doing this daily. We're doing this at least 4 days a week, weekdays. Maybe we'll make it 5 days a week. But to start with, I'm going to talk a little bit about a new study from Tesla. Tesla Insurance is, sort of been rolling out quietly since Tesla announced it a while back. I think it was 2 years ago now, or something like that. And it's a bit hard to understand what Tesla's doing that's different here, I think. So a new study from MarketWatch is indicating that it's doing quite a lot different, and it could be quite disruptive, just as it has been in the automaking space. It's a little bit complicated, because typically auto insurance companies are looking at overall factors of, hello, Joe. So we've done the intro and just getting into the first story, but wait, sort of trying to explain what's complicated. I know you have a different perspective on this. So what's complicated, what's different about what Tesla Insurance is doing? So typically auto insurance companies are looking at overall factors about your demographics, driving data in your demographics, whether that's your age, your gender. I know in the past it was even the color of your car. I'm not sure if that's still the case. Like if you have a red car, you're more likely to get in an accident.
More likely to get pulled over, yeah.
Yeah, so they've looked at these, and they give you a certain score that ends up affecting how much you pay for your insurance. Of course, the model of your car, everything. But they don't typically respond to your driving, like to exactly how you're driving. And in some places it's not even legal, like California, where they have a different system. Tesla Insurance has a different system because it's not legal to give you insurance rates that are based on them tracking your driving. but in most states where Tesla insurance is held, they're looking at how much you accelerate quickly, how much you brake quickly. I think it's more about the braking than the accelerating. There are a lot of different factors that they deem maybe a little less safe than normal safe driving. And the best way to sort of understand this is if you go back and you see all the coverage we and others did on the Tesla safety score when it rolled out. Because initially Tesla.
Well, hang on. There are no others. Only Clean Technica exists.
Yes.
We're America's only clean tech news source. That's what we're pushing on this particular episode.
Yeah. But when it came out, I think again, this was 2 years ago. I'm seeing my screenshot of my 100 score that I got. I was one of the pretty early to get 100. Yes, that's right. Driving between September 25th and October 8th, 2021. So 2 years ago exactly. I followed the rules enough. I drove carefully enough that I got a safety score of 100. A lot of people struggled to get above 90 or above 95 because like any touching of the brake would reduce points, like almost any. And so that was
as it should. I mean, if you're going down I-95 or I-75 and you're going 70 miles an hour, you don't need to be touching the brakes. That's the whole point of the interstates, right? And there's a lot of people who are like lane experts that like to switch lanes. 100%. To me, this is really interesting, right? Because I always liken this, like, to me, Tesla is sort of like the Apple of the world, like the Tesla of the automotive world, rather. The Tesla fanboys strike me very much like iDevice fan people, right? Like people who are really enthusiastic about it. So like you'll get a feature on Apple, like the new iOS will have, some feature, thumbprint recognition, face recognition, whatever it was when that came out. And they'll be crowing about it. They'll be so excited about it. They'll be showing their friends. They'll be talking about how great it is. And all the Android people had that stuff 2 years ago. This strikes me as a very similar thing. There are companies like Geico that have been doing stuff like this and they call it a dongle that connects into the OBD, the onboard diagnostic port of your vehicle, to read a lot of the same things that Tesla does. It's reading brake inputs. It's using the phones because it connects to your phone. It's using the phone's accelerometers to determine when you're braking and determine that same kind of safety score. And they give you points based on safe driving and reduced risk score. And this is something that's been out there in the insurance world, in the auto insurance world. I want to say at least 10 years, maybe longer than that. Certainly since the advent of the smartphone, I want to say around 2009, 2010 is kind of when I started reading about it. I don't know if it went into the market. And it just seems like something that others have had that now, because it's in a Tesla, it's news. And it doesn't feel disruptive. It doesn't feel like this is something that's going to benefit the drivers. I think if anything, what this is going to do is create another source of data, another way for them to deny you coverage in the event of an accident. It's no longer a matter of cameras and he said, she said. It's now, well, you didn't put on your brake until 2 seconds before the accident. We believe that safe driving is 3 to 5 seconds, so we're not going to give you coverage. I see it in a very cynical way. I don't think it's going to be a positive thing at all.
So there's definitely issues and pros and cons I want to get to with it, but yeah, regarding that initial safety score test, which they no longer give you, so you're not no one's seeing how that's evolved. But back then, you had to basically not brake at all. Like you had to only use regenerative braking. I remember I used the brake once because a light turned red, and I shouldn't have run through. It was too late for me to run to brake.
Right, but the score would have been better if you had just.
But it was too early for me to go through the light, so I had to brake, and I got points deducted. And I had to a week to work them off. I had to work them off for a week just because I had to use the brake because the light turned red. So this was one of those things, and there's a few scenarios like that. And it's just like if you ever needed to touch the brake with your foot for any reason, you got points deducted. that has to have improved because it was ridiculous, and that's why a lot of people struggle with it too.
Yeah.
There was also a hack where you could if you reboot the system by pressing these two buttons on the steering wheel for a few 10 seconds or something, it would reboot the computer. If you did that, it would erase that drive and it wouldn't save that drive. So a hack that some of us used, I'm not saying if I did or
Not you, because that would have been,
if you did mess up
unethical.
and you knew you messed up, you would just reboot the system. That way, if that scenario happened, you wouldn't lose points for it. But yeah,
so if a child unexpectedly wandered into the road in front of you from between two parked cars and you slammed on the brake.
Yep. No, that was the joke. That was a joke. Is it worth it to ruin your safety score?
Right. You just go right over them.
Yeah, there's a lot of joking about animals and humans.
But think about that. But
and
that's
there
a
were some serious critics
concern.
Were like, Tesla drivers, this is probably you, Joe. Tesla drivers are going to kill people to get 100 on their safety scores. Like,
no, not Tesla drivers, just you and Fred's. Specifically, you two guys.
Yeah.
But let's take this out of the realm of Tesla. Forget about Tesla. Make it any other company, because Tesla is like an emotionally charged thing. People have because it's a successful brand, people have feelings about it. That's what makes it a successful brand. So let's take it out of that and just approach this from a perfectly logical, purely reasonable perspective. Your insurance company decides what to pay out and how much to pay out to whoever it is that's doing repairs on your vehicle. In the case of your automobile, if you have Ford insurance and your Ford is damaged and Ford doesn't really want to total it or doesn't really want to pay out, you are now in a system where the people who owe you money are determining how much they owe you. And from the most cynical American capitalistic play on earth, that's a bad scenario to be in. And when you're talking about one of the guys who is arguably the winner of capitalism, he is probably not going to see things from a charitabilistic point of view.
I wouldn't call myself the winner of capitalism, Joe.
I wasn't referring to you.
Oh, yes. Yes, of course, as I sit in my townhouse. Yes. Right. No. Yeah. I just want to get through the basics of it first too, though, because so there's also hard swerving was another thing that a lot of people got points deducted for, and that was just basically taking a turn at a sort of fast speed. Sometimes it was hard swerving, sometimes it was you didn't slow down to 3 miles per hour before making that turn, and you didn't turn at a way that 110-year-old who had just had a hip replacement wasn't going to complain. This was ridiculous level of slow turning you had to take to pass. So there was a problem that the system was way too sensitive, and so the question was, well, if your insurance is based on this, how much are you going to get and it's going to be checked monthly to change your rate. How much is ridiculous stuff going to make your insurance rate go up? It was if I stop driving the most ridiculous person on the road, am I going to start getting charged more? So that's sort of the intro. There's more we could say on it, but the things that the Market Watch study mentions that they're looking at with the safety scores: following distance, aggressive turning, hard braking, seatbelt use, driving speed, and forced autopilot disengagement. And now if you get to where it's been deployed, where it's being used, the fact is, and that's right now in 12 states. So sorry, that's Arizona, California, Colorado, Illinois, Maryland, Minnesota, Nevada, Ohio, Oregon, Texas, Utah, Virginia. Only in California, as far as I'm aware, they're not allowed to pay attention to someone's driving behavior, and so they don't have this exact. Calculus.
I've driven in LA. That sounds true.
Yeah, but based on what they've got out there, in 2019 when it was launched, so it was 4 years ago, Tesla Insurance. I mean, that was way before the safety score, but when they started building this, they promised.
Yeah, but they started offering insurance because there was a backlash. A lot of, this is when I interviewed Frank Marrow from Robertson Ryan, and I did an article on this. I'll share that I'll put it in the comments maybe after the show. that a lot of insurance companies and carriers, not necessarily the brokers, but a lot of the carriers were starting to see higher rates, prohibitively high rates for certain EVs. This was like, at the time, there was a lot of stuff in the news about fires, and there wasn't really sufficient study to see what the actual fire rates were until we discovered that internal combustion actually had higher rates of fire in terms of coverage. But in that time frame, it was getting prohibitively expensive. And Tesla, as they always do, they eliminate obstacles to ownership, roadblocks to ownership, and they did that by coming up with an insurance product that enabled more people to get competitive coverage and competitive rates and be able to continue to drive their cars, which was a great move, absolutely genius. I'm
Yeah, and
again
it's very,
always impressed by their ability to remove obstacles to ownership. I just think, just from a common sense perspective, you don't let the people who owe you money determine how much they owe you.
yeah, it's very hard to know what actually goes into the whole calculus of an insurance company.
Yeah.
So we have a writer on staff, as he writes occasionally, Vijay Govindan, who used to work for insurance companies in this way, and we'll have to talk to him at length about this, because he's a Tesla owner. He's got a lot of experience, and he had his Tesla totaled, where he had to go through an insurance nightmare in Texas. But yeah, anyway, so there's another factor. We'll get to it in a minute with repair costs. But yeah, insurance companies could potentially just put like a big premium on EVs, and they seem to do that for a while, where they're like, oh yeah, that we'll charge extra on that because we don't know anything about EVs, so we're just gonna put this high questionability factor on it and make it more expensive. So it depends on the insurance carrier, but there was a concern with this. And Tesla said in 2019 that Tesla insurance users would see savings of 20 to 30%. According to data compiled on the Value Penguin insurance comparison website, according to Chris Boylan, who wrote this article for us, Tesla insurance rates are approximately 49% lower than the competition in Texas. So again, that's one state, that's one study. It's a really hard industry to understand well. So we don't know, but at the moment, and I've seen this on social media a lot of Tesla insurance owners just got a much better rate with Tesla insurance than they had with their previous. Not everyone, some people didn't, and that was further back when it was launching, so maybe that's even improved. But in general, it's been a much better rate.
Sure.
As far as payouts and that kind of stuff, I haven't even seen anything about
Yeah.
anyone using it in a case of an accident or something. But I'm eagerly waiting for it in Florida myself, because I do think it will be cheaper. I'm also nervous about the system for the scoring system, because of how funky it was a couple of years ago. But I haven't seen anyone really complaining about it changing much while they've got it. And I'm also concerned a bit about what you're saying. Tesla's not known for great customer service. This has been its Achilles heel. Tesla communications. I mean, customer service in some ways is phenomenal, but Tesla communications and service and sort of working with the company when there's an issue has been a nightmare for a lot of people, and it's been one of their biggest problems for as long as Tesla's been around. Tesla, communications with like the salespeople, whatever, this is phenomenal. Like, these people have been great, but service and company communications have been difficult. So I'm not really bullish on how well it would work in the case of an accident, but we don't really know, and we haven't seen that. And so that's the general story right now. And the Market Watch report basically says Tesla's tracking so much, seemingly more than what you were saying, Joe, with the OBD devices and other system. Like, it seems to be a bit beyond that with what they're doing.
Yeah, they're using a lot more sensor data.
Yeah, there are a lot more
camera data. Yeah,
a lot more like really specific stuff, whether that's good or bad. And it seems to be that they're saying this could really disrupt the auto insurance world. Of course, you can also get Tesla insurance on a non-Tesla if you're getting on a Tesla as well. So if you have two cars, one's a Tesla, you can get Tesla insurance for both. It's not yet open for non-Tesla owners, but that's a general study of what we've talked about a bit. There's a little bit more to say. Do you have anything more on it?
No, I think that's it. I'm always wary of any insurance thing. I always feel like, I always kind of feel like any insurance is a little bit of a scam. Their whole business model is that they're going to charge more people more than they need to so that they can generate billions and billions in profits by not paying out to the people that need it. So,
Yeah,
I'm
and this
always going to
was
be cynical regardless of who is offering the insurance. And the fact that it's Elon Musk's company and my feelings about him personally, I don't anticipate this ending well for anybody.
well, the thing is, it started with the like, hey, we're just going to do this cheaper so that Tesla owners have better experience, and that was the
A hundred
initial
percent.
idea with Tesla Service too. Tesla Service would never be a profit center, according to Elon. But things have
Sure, but you
evolved.
also have,
Tesla
we're going to
Supercharging was going to be
eliminate the
available for
middleman
life.
of the salesperson. We're going to eliminate the salesperson and the markup of the dealership. And then 10 years down the road, we have the highest markup of any brand. So,
Yeah, there's a lot of there's Tesla Supercharging was going to be a free for life. This kind of stuff. There's been a lot of things that have evolved as the company has evolved. So I'm not really I'm not sure, but one of the things which I'm sure you'll have more to say on it too before we switch. Uh, Historically, it's cost an arm and a leg to do simple repairs on a Tesla, like
yeah,
fender bender. Fender bender. Chris Boylan, who wrote this article, famously had like an early Tesla Model 3 in New York, and it was like $7,000 fender bender repair, I think it was. And this is in part because you have to be a Tesla certified repair shop, auto body shop, and there was limited number of these in the past. It's still a limited number, but a lot more now. It used to just be really difficult to find someone who could do it, and so it costs a lot more. Also, getting the parts from Tesla was always a challenge because they had more demand than supply. So it was always like, okay, fine, we'll give you a bumper, but it's going to cost you this much money. I don't know if that's how it went, but that's basically the point. And then also, I mean, Tesla changes its parts all the time. It's famous in a good way, but also I think in a concerning way for making changes every week to a car, like parts, like making some kind of small changes at least every week. And I mean that for long-term repair costs, that's not a good thing because you want a large supply of something with it's got economies of scale. And if you've got so it depends on the repair, it depends on the part, but there's a concern with how much the parts change and how much supply of the parts there is, and that's why there's high repair costs, and that's not going to change whether it's Tesla insurance or someone else unless you get to a certain scale. And Tesla maybe is getting to that scale, or maybe not because of how much it changes things. I don't know.
right.
What do you think?
Or they genuinely believe that their self-driving technology and their autopilot features make the car safer and that they're willing to take that risk. And again, I'm torn, right? Because I applaud them for removing obstacles and making the ownership experience better and owning the ownership experience, whether it's charging, route planning, insurance, maintenance. I applaud them for that. And I think it is very brave and very bold. I just struggle with insurance as a concept, I think. So
Yeah,
now
no,
we've gone through that therapy session. Do we want to talk about the Genesis? Because I'm
yeah.
in it.
Let's do it. So this was we had a little bit of a technical delay here as Joe got into his Genesis for the show. It's
Well,
not
I was
his
trying to
Genesis.
get it to
Sorry.
connect, and I have to, if I connect to Bluetooth, it won't let me do this. So I had to figure out the whole process of like, oh no, I have to be on 5G connected with the USB, the whole deal. So,
Yeah, I had no idea, but I figured it must be this was what was going on, and I was like, I would not even. I would be. But
yeah,
anyway,
just
go
forget
ahead.
about it.
Tell us what we're looking at.
So what we are looking at is the Genesis GV70. This is their midsize 5-passenger SUV model, and it is very, very nice. You've got the quilted leather seats. We've got that are both heated and cooled. So like right now, I have a very nice cool breeze being wafted up my bottom side, which is very nice and cooling. Obviously, nothing that Model S people won't be familiar with, but again, we were talking last week about the climate control and the dual zone climate control. I have climate for not only each seat, but each passenger front and rear. I also have something here which I like quite a bit, which is the sunroof that I can close, which you would think is a normal enough feature, but there's so many EVs coming to market right now that you can't close the sunroof in a
Oh
way
my
that
gosh,
is
it's too bad I
meaningful.
didn't do this inside my Tesla Model 3 because half the year I have these sun shields covering
Right.
me. Like these janky, I mean, they're nice sun shields, but it's just a
It's
janky solution because I just have them suction cupped to the glass roof because it's crazy hot
yeah,
and you have to put something there. And I was like, at least I have these. But I mean, it looks horrible. It looks ridiculous.
it
I'm
looks
like,
horrible on the Mach E.
and they
We
fall
tested,
down
they fall down. Yeah, so you're
while you're
driving.
driving. Ah!
Yeah, we had the Mustang Mach E around the time that the previous XC90 lease was up, and Margaret, my wife Margaret, was driving it, and she really liked it, and she thought it was a neat car, and she was really into it. She was like, "Oh, I'd get one, but I can't figure out how to close the sunroof." And I was like, "Well, there is no sunroof. It don't close." And she just like gave me this blank stare, like I was some kind of idiot. And she goes, "No, let's go get another Volvo." Like that was it. Like it was, the Model X doors, the Falcon doors. That was it for that car. The sunroof thing on the Mach E, that was it for that one. There's no real complaints from the family on this one. They do really seem to like it. And what I will say on this is that it drives very, like, if you close your eyes, don't close your eyes while you're driving, but like if you're in the passenger seat or something, it drives very similar dynamically to the Ioniq 5, which I love, but it does feel a little bit special. You can't really appreciate it, over the phone camera. I've tried to take a couple pictures of it, but the instrument cluster is three-dimensional. So what does that mean?
Can we see that? Can we see all this stuff more? I mean,
Yeah.
you're pretty and
So
all, but
the
I'm
instrument
curious.
cluster, again, you can't really see it, but this vehicle is visibly three-dimensional. It's closer to you. The needles seem like they are hovering and floating above the displays, and it really creates a sense of depth to the visuals here that make it seem somewhat special. It has the heads-up display. I don't know if you can see that very
Yeah,
well on the
that's
camera. It
not
just says 0 miles per hour.
as far as I
And
can.
then,
Can you go back there? Because as far as I can tell, I can't see anything there.
yeah, it's
That's
trippy,
funny.
but I can
Oh,
see
I
it.
sort of see where it would be.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
can see it clear as day,
that's funny.
right? Yeah, but I can't see it on the phone. And I can't capture that three-dimensionality
Yeah,
of the
I
vehicle and the
can.
gauges.
Well, I assume I can get a sense of what you're saying with the light blue dial, with the light blue.
The light blue needles, but the
Needle.
car itself, I mean, if you look here, the battery is like
Mhm.
floating in front of it. The
Yeah,
brake,
I
the
mean
parking brake.
we can't see it, but I sort of can sense
You're gonna have to
that
trust
it's
me on
happening.
this. It's a
Yeah.
really neat effect. And then over here, when you're driving, it's giving you the kind of weather. Yesterday it was rainy, and this had like little rain
Oh,
droplets
cool.
displayed on it.
Oh, I
And
love
again,
that.
it's gimmicky, and it doesn't really, add to the
Cars are
real
gimmicky.
experience.
Cars are
Cars are gimmicky.
that's
Yes.
we want gimmicks, and I get a little frustrated when people, whether it's about Teslas or other EVs or other, or like Tesla haters complaining about Teslas, or Tesla fanboys complaining about non-Teslas. It's like a common attack. Oh, it's just gimmick. It's just, yeah, cars are full of gimmicks because
Cars are
that's
full
what
of
we love
gimmicks.
about them. Like, we love the gimmicks. And if you don't, and all you care about is driving from A to B, go get a Nissan Leaf or a, like,
That's it. If you want a soulless appliance, go get you a soulless appliance.
no offense to Nissan. I mean, there's better examples perhaps, but in the US, maybe, maybe not.
Yeah, I don't know about that. So this is neat. So I don't know if you can see me going through the drive modes.
Whoa, whoa! It's like, yeah, it's doing some kind of video
Yeah,
game
so it
thing
gives you
there.
the different displays, which pretty much all vehicles do. But when
Wow.
I change the display, when I go to comfort mode, it softens up my seat. And when I go into sport mode, it inflates the side bolsters and it tucks down the back of the seat and it kind of gives you a little hug. So if
Wait,
like
you're
you live
getting a butt
alone,
massage as you change this video game screen?
yes. And
Oh man.
as I'm driving dynamically, if I'm like going fast, so I turn the wheel, right? And if I turn the wheel to take a turn quickly and lower my safety score, the seat will actually grip you on the sides to keep you in the seat.
I see what you did there. That was
It's
fun.
legit. And then you can go into boost mode. Boost conditions not met. Fair enough. But you can go into boost mode and it gets super, super fast. But even in eco mode or comfort mode, it still has that gut punch, 0 RPM torque of all electric motors.
Dude,
It's
that's
very,
wicked
very
though.
quiet.
You're getting 4D with it. So tell
Yeah.
again. So when does the seat pressure whatever change
When
around
you're
your
when you're
interior?
cornering, when you're in sport mode, it like primes it, and when you're cornering, it grips you in the seat. And
So
when you're yeah, it's slick. And it tilts
oh
it a little
my
bit.
god.
So I'm going to show you also my favorite feature on this car. And this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen on a car, but it made me so happy. It's the first thing I do whenever I get
Wait, and let's
into.
remind everyone, what car is this? Well, because we just got
This is a Genesis GV70, and I can get out and I'll have a full
okay.
review on it on Clean Technica. But one of the things you can do, and this is true of any Genesis, is the smart posture care. So you can like adjust the seat however you want and just kind of like do your thing with the seat. And you know, when you get into the car, regardless of how you position the seat, you can go into it, enter the driver's information, and it's going to ask you, you know, what's your inseam 565. So let's say that that's right. That's all right. So it's going to do a posture analysis
Oh,
based on your height and your weight and your inseam. And it's going to say, man, your posture, the way that you have your seat is no good. So
oh
you can
my god.
auto adjust it, and it's adjusting the steering wheel, it's adjusting the seat. And now it's saying, there you go. Now you have good posture and you can view the details. And it's telling you you have minimal, you know, spinal curvature is good here. It'll inflate bladders in the seat to like just like adjust to your lumbar, and it's feeling your weight on the seat. It's so legit. And then you
Joe,
got the weather.
I
I
want
know.
that. Oh my gosh.
You do. And this is one of those where like it seems like it would be stupid until you do it. And then you're like,
No, man. I'm plus
no, this is
40.
nice.
Everything I can get to save my spine,
To
my
save your back.
joints,
Oh,
to
you have no
improve my
question.
long-term health and my ability to play a sport and play it again the
Yeah,
next day. It's like, please. So that is something.
100%. And then the
Yeah.
last thing I will say about this car is the headrests. They are like pillows, dude. They are not like the Volvo that has like the really stern, like where you're like, this is meant to save my neck in the middle of an accident. Like this is soft and cushy, and I'm sure it's bad for safety, and I'm gonna die in an accident. I'll try not to crash. It's just really soft. The headliner is Alcantara, which is like a suede. So all of this is very nice, high quality. The leather, the cross stitching, the plastic, everything you touch is of the highest just tactile, happy sensation. And I really, really like it.
Is there a little more you
If
could
I
show
was
us
going to
on the
buy it,
screen?
what's that?
Can you show us a little more on the screens? I felt like we were just getting into them. I'm curious to see a little bit more on that.
Yeah. So, like, you can, so I'm still in that phase. So, you can get into the navigation menu here. But honestly, I would mostly just use I would mostly use CarPlay on this because I'm not a super fan of the navigation planning. So like the route planning
Mhm.
on this, I would use the CarPlay, and then I would use ChargeWay,
I mean, that looks a bit like a
or
BMW
Charge Hub
system.
or something better than this. Like, because they don't really give you what it is. They just tell you like, look, here's an EV charging station, and they tell you AC or DC. Which, if this was your first experience with an EV, I would have thought you would want a little more information than that.
Yeah.
The sound system is great. I really like it. It is a Lexicon. It's not as good as the Volvo, frankly, but it's decent.
Mm-hmm.
And we can get into this. Yeah.
Well,
Somehow Y2 Country is what is on here. That is not my usual choice,
mm-hmm.
but it is what it is.
Oh, we can't. Let's not play anything that will get copyright
Oh, right.
strike on YouTube. So,
But you can see,
yeah.
you know, the screens, the navigation, how it splits it. And
Plus,
another thing that I really like about this is you can, it does have wireless phone charging, so you can just leave your phone, but it doesn't have wireless CarPlay. So you have to have the USB connection, and it's like the old school USB connection. It's not USB-C, which
Ooh,
a
wow. Weird.
little bit, I think, of an oversight. I,
That's
I feel like
strange.
that's a little strange. Um,
I mean, you can
but
still just get an adapter, but still, that's
you can get an adapter, but it's just a little bit like, But I think again, if your primary target customer is in their, late 50s into early 70s, which the Genesis is, I think that's probably right.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it depends, but yeah, they like to they
Oh, they're
prefer to
definitely
hold on to
wearing Depends.
they prefer to hold on to their phones for longer. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just a really nice car. I really like the very clean way that they've handled the HVAC. Hyundai has really stepped up their air conditioning and heating. One thing that I would say about all the Hyundais, electric, internal combustion, doesn't matter, is like the other day when it was really ungodly hot in Chicago, it was like 106 degrees about a week and a half ago. The Volvo, that was a hybrid, does not cool down. I was in another vehicle. A friend of mine has a Toyota Prius V. It was an older one, but like that thing would not get cold. The Hyundai got cold right away. Which I hope we're not going to get too many more 106-degree days, but this is one of those like it's the hottest summer. It's not the hottest summer ever. It's the hottest summer so far.
Yeah,
So
that would be critical for us in Florida here. I've seen a lot
yeah,
of
it's
the
a little
95.
depressing, but it's where we're at.
Yeah. So can we get a quick look at the external before we move on to
I
electric?
don't know how to do that. I feel like
I
as
was,
soon as I unplug from the phone, I'm going to lose the
I
audio.
was
So like,
afraid of that. We can blame it
no,
on Genesis, but we will have an article with
yeah, they don't make it easy to stream and drive from the outside of the car.
point deduction. Your insurance rate just went up.
Damn it!
It would be funny if your insurance rate goes up for having a bad connection system that
I will say this. I don't know if you
extracts
guys
from.
heard it, but we had guys working on the lawn right next to the car on like a full stand up and then a gas powered leaf
No,
blower.
no, I didn't
And
hear
I
any
don't
of that.
know if you guys heard it, but it was so quiet in here. I could like keep going. And they
No,
were
I
2 feet from me.
didn't hear it. Yeah,
That's cool.
so
You would have
what
heard it in the Tesla.
so what's your before we finish with this? Oh yeah, the Tesla for sure. It's a horrible sound insulation on my Model 3, 2019 Model 3. The biggest downside of the car. So
Yeah.
the
That and
what's
the
your
goofy door
overall
handles.
out of 10 score for this on first impression? We used to, a long time ago, like 10 years ago or so, you did this like first date. What was it?
Yeah,
It
I did.
was
So
like
I would do a first date where it was like, what's my initial impression of the
was
day
first
that I
date the
got the
first
car?
article? There wasn't like a
No,
courting
it was
article?
first
No.
date and then it
Okay.
was third date because like the theory is by the third date you're like getting in there.
Okay. So first date,
Trademark.
second date, third date.
Yeah, so first date I would give it like an 8 out of 10. Like the beautiful car, looks great, feels great, everything is amazing, but like it just took a little bit to figure out the controls. Like they're not you could have you could see me like I still don't know how to change the radio. Like it's not the most intuitive controls,
Okay.
but by the time I've driven, I've had it now almost 2 weeks, and it's become a little bit better, but not better because I figured out how to do everything, just better because I ignore it. I just use my phone for stuff and I use the CarPlay. And I think that has been the biggest difference is just if you ignore Hyundai's horrible infotainment software, then it's a really wonderful car to be in and be a part of. But if you were trying, I could totally see like looking away from the road, trying to change the radio station because I don't want to listen to Y2 Country. I'm sure it's great. People enjoy it. I'm just not one of them. I would definitely crash into a school bus full of
But
orphans
but
and
are there any traditional car companies, non-Tesla, non-Chinese companies that have better infotainment in your opinion?
I think General Motors and no, but I think GM when they had OnStar really figured this out because I would get stuck on something like if I couldn't figure out how to change the radio, I could hit the OnStar button and
Yeah,
they
no,
could change the radio for me.
yeah, I know a lot of
And if I couldn't figure out the navigation, I could hit the OnStar button and I would have an actual human and I would tell them, "Hey, I want to go stop here, and they would send the route to my car. Yeah. And nothing that I have ever been a part of has been as good as that. And they have completely gutted that operation, and they're moving away from it. Perhaps maybe they're going to include that in their new, because GM is doing away with CarPlay and Android integration for 2025. They're going to have only their own system. They're going to lock out Apple and Android. That could be interesting. I know Steve Schwinke, who was one of the main developers of the original OnStar, he's actually a DJ now. The guy's awesome. And he was working for Cibros as a consultant for a little while. And he was talking about how the original vision for OnStar was really AI before AI could do all this. Still, AI can't do all the stuff, but it was.
So maybe that is really where they're going.
Maybe that is really where they're going, where you can almost have that kind of OnStar experience again.
ChatGPT is going to step in and put you in reverse all of a sudden instead of.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you this.
The robots are taking over.
Yeah. I mean, I had Steve on a panel in Austin last year. You guys were there, and I was moderating the panel, but you and Scott and Danielle were there, and I moderated a panel with a guy from Google's AI and Steve from his OnStar, and that was what the two of them were talking about. Was that that was the vision, and that this AI and smart vehicle and connected infrastructure is going to make that possible. But I got the impression that we were 5 to 10 years away, not 5 to 10 months away. But, we didn't even have ChatGPT 6 months ago. And now I probably get 3 or 4 emails a day that have something to do with AI. So maybe we were 5 or 10 months away, and we'll see something at CES, which, by the way, I'll be at CES in January. So if you see me and you want to talk to me, please don't do that. Just leave me alone.
Well, I heard it's coming in 2 weeks. But
yeah. We'll see that too.
Do you know that reference? If you don't know that reference, you don't really.
No, it's. I thought we were going to be nice to Tesla now. That was what my notes said.
I just want to see this. Joe know the 2 weeks reference.
2 weeks. It'll be fine.
Let's see. But the last question on this, again, which model is it? This is we'll dedicate a whole hour.
GV70. Yeah, it's the GV70. GV70, which is a 5-passenger SUV.
Okay, so my last question was, what EVs do we put a little above it, and what EVs do you put a little below it, or can you not say that at this point, or you don't want to?
No, I could say, I think it is the closest to the EQE SUV.
Oh, wow.
I think in terms of size, in terms of feel, the feel of the wheel, it doesn't have it doesn't feel like it has the mass of the Volvos, right? Which again are hybrids, so it's a little bit different. It doesn't feel like that tank rolling forward thing. It feels very light, very luxurious. It's luxury in the way that, like, our parents, if you had family who had like a Lincoln Town Car or Cadillac DeVille, it's very soft. It's very luxurious and nice. It is not the ultimate driving machine, sports sedan, super go fast kind of luxury. It absorbs bumps in the road. You don't feel everything through the steering wheel. It's an old school kind of luxury vehicle that I don't really think anybody else, maybe Lucid, is making. Mm-hmm. I would definitely take this over a Mach-E. I would take this car over I would certainly take it over the Mercedes, just because I feel like Mercedes has a brand problem right now. I don't think it's, I don't like the BMW iX with the beaver teeth. It doesn't work for me. I don't know. This might be my favorite of this category, 5-passenger EV. I think this might be my favorite one.
Yeah, I was thinking I was getting that impression.
Yeah, okay, well, it's real nice. I wouldn't spend the money on it. I'd buy the Ioniq, but
you have the Ioniq. That's what you did get. Which people can't know what kind of car you.
People can't know that, man. I'm Volvo.
Look, I'm going to tell you honestly. Breaking news here. When I drive around and I see all these other EVs on the road, the Ioniq 5 is the EV I most want now. Initially it was the Kia EV6, and then I saw the Ioniq 6 and I thought, wow, that's a cool. But not when I'm out on the road, it's the
Yeah, the
Ioniq
5.
5 that I want, which is really it's interesting. It's a really attractive, cool looking
If
vehicle.
if I could do it again, I'd do the white. In fact, I might wrap it in white.
Yeah, I love the white. I like all of them. I saw a black one yesterday. I was like, oh, I haven't seen that. That's cool. But I like the white the most. So
Yeah,
we
I think that's a sharp car. And this is just like that, but like a little like a step above. I really like this car. I will say this though. There's two reasons I would never buy it. Number one, because I like the Ioniq better, and the Ioniq is less money. So if it's cheaper and I like it better, that's a no-brainer. The doors on this vehicle go all the way down to the bottom edge of the car. What does that mean? That means that like it doesn't have like a door sill, like the door just like wraps under. And I understand why they did that. You don't want people with nice pants, suit pants, nice dresses getting in and out of the car, and especially in snowy weather, and getting that salt and grime and dirt on their pants. This is a real thing. The problem is when you live in a city and you have to street park the car, I can't tell you just in the course of 2 weeks how many times I've scraped the bottom of the door against a curb or not been able
oh
to open the passenger side of the car at all because the
wow.
curb is too high and the door goes into it. I actually, the first picture I ever took of the car was outside my house. The Genesis guys dropped it off and I couldn't open the passenger side door because of the curb. And like, I don't have, I mean, you can see the curb in front of my house. I don't have a crazy
Oh
high
my,
curb.
those are tiny curbs even.
Yeah, but it's enough. It's enough that it'll scrape.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. Yeah, the thing I hate about
No
those
bueno.
the thing I hate about that area of the door where the door seal is it's like it's never it's so hard to clean. Like you wash the car and then you've got to clean it and it doesn't get fully clean. And if you don't clean it every time, it's like it's and it picks up stuff while driving sometimes. And so it's like it's the area. It drives me nuts that I can't get it like it's got all this stuff around it that you can't like get your hand behind or whatever. Anyway, that's it for that story. So the last one you had is big news for big trucks, written by
Oh man.
who wrote this story?
Oh
Oh,
yeah,
Joe,
that was a Joe Boris classic.
uh, Cummins. Oh, you talk about it. It's your
Yeah.
story.
So Cummins is obviously well known for making diesel motors. PACCAR, which is makes the motors for Kenworth and Freightliner. I'm sorry, Kenworth and Peterbilt, and then Daimler, which is a division of Mercedes Daimler Benz. They make Daimler trucks, Freightliner, Western Star, a lot of big over the road, not only over the road trucks, but equipment haulers and drayage vehicles as well. These three companies represent a massive majority of the big, not only over the road trucks that are out there, but the heavy equipment as well, whether we're talking about an excavator motor, generator, things like that. And these three companies together are forming a joint venture to develop and manufacture LFP truck. They're being labeled as truck batteries, but for electric semi trucks and electric heavy equipment, bulldozers, track hose, excavators, compactors, things like that. This is so huge because you're going to have effectively a modular battery. Think about designing a product to take AA batteries instead of designing a product around a structural battery in the Tesla way, right? So now, if you have a large fleet and you're a large fleet operator and you like the way that Western Star builds, this particular hauler, but you want to get this other vehicle, you want to get a plow setup from Freightliner, you like the Freightliner van, the Sprinter van, there's a good chance that you'll be able to drop the same battery into all of those vehicles. So that means that a fleet manager, a dealership owner, somebody who services these trucks, they can inventory these batteries and service a wide range of trucks and not be caught up, for example, waiting on Tesla to deliver a battery because manufacturing and delivering new vehicles might be more important to their bottom line than servicing vehicles that are already on the road. You can more freely choose the vehicle that meets your needs, or more importantly, that is available, right? Because you might need 4 trucks for your fleet tomorrow, but Western Star can only get you 2, Freightliner can get you 1, you know, and Peterbilt can get you 1. So now you have a motley fleet here. Instead of having to deal with all of these different parts and figuring out the availability, you now have one battery that'll fit them all. I think this is huge. The companies are sharing equal ownership on this. They're going to put in $3 billion total to develop this and build out these batteries in the US. And I think the last kind of point on this is, because it's an LFP battery, it's not going to use a ton of cobalt. And cobalt has been like the internal combustion idiot whipping boy for the last several months on the internet of, oh, the children that are mining the cobalt to go into EVs. It's like, look, first of all, more cobalt is used to refine petroleum into diesel fuel and gasoline than will ever be used in an EV. So let's just move past that argument. But that's too smart for some of these idiots. So we're just going to get away from cobalt altogether. And now the cobalt mines will go back to 100% supplying petroleum based internal combustion, and we can move on from that. I love this. I love this. I love this. And I think it is a really clear indication that these American trucking companies, they see a real threat. Maybe not from Nikola, maybe not from Tesla, but Volvo and Mack are now on their second generation, about to launch their third generation of electric heavy duty trucks and heavy duty equipment. And they are coming for the North American market. And I think this is a solid response. I'm excited to see it. And I think it's the kind of thing that industry needs.
I mean, just second everything you said. I think that's all really important, and just the importance of a modular joint venture.
Imagine if Ford and GM came out and said, all of our EVs are going to use the same batteries. They're going to load into the car. They're these little cube things.
Yeah.
They're going to load up into the car. A car will have 8 or 12 of them. And if one of them goes bad, you just pop it out and pop another one in. And we're all going to use the same ones. That would be insane for the EV market. Maybe not good, but it would certainly drive down costs and development costs.
Yeah, it's all about driving down costs. And that's the LFP thing too, which historically it was lower cost, but lower energy density and power density. And, for a long time it was seen as like just not acceptable, not good enough energy density to be in EVs. And more recently, in the past few years, it's improved enough, and the cost, it's improved enough that the cost factor it's won in a lot of models.
It's like 90% as good as lithium ion for 75% of the price. I think a lot of people are going to make that.
Yeah. And like the higher performance Teslas don't use it. They still use other chemistries. The lower performance Teslas, the lower range, use it now, produced from China.
But lower performance is still a 10-second car.
No, it would kill anything from 5 years ago. It would crush anything.
But let's hang on. Let's bring this up. When Fast and the Furious came out and he burned up that Supra, Toretto pointed right at him and said, "You owe me a 10-second car." If that happened today, he could just go to the store and buy a Tesla Model 3 and have a 10-second car.
Yeah, this is a basic. A lot has changed, but the thing I was going to go from cars. So then it became, okay, we can put it in some cars, but heavy trucks need higher energy density because of what they do, and they already have a lot of weight. And now with this, it's like, you know what? We can also do this, lower costs, and be competitive sooner. So be more competitive sooner. So I think it's all about cost. It's money, 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 and I think all across.
But let's also focus on the fact that. Yeah, but let's focus on the fact that there's more than one solution. When we think of heavy trucks, we often think of over-the-road trucks that are going hundreds and hundreds of miles. But most of the heavy equipment that's out there is garbage trucks, it's tow trucks, it's school buses, it's city buses, it's, RV haulers, it's construction equipment, it's short-run stuff. A diesel right now, if every over-the-road truck that did 800 to 1,000 miles a day stayed diesel, and we changed over everything else to electric, we would make a huge dent on carbon emissions. We would do tremendous good for the planet. And I think that this LFP thing is really focusing on that. It's focusing on everything else that is not that over the road quick fuel at the Flying J while you get your snack and then go. And I think that I think that's the right thing. We talk so much about EVs and electrification. If we really want to improve the environment and create a better world, it's not about converting everybody to EVs. We would be far better off converting every car trip that's under 5 miles into a bicycle trip, every 300-mile plus road trip into a train trip, into a private rail trip. I think there's a lot that can be done, and this type of development, this type of joint venture and collaboration, I think is going to get us to where we need to be. And really, I just couldn't be happier about it. So that's the end of my story.
Yeah.
Read
No,
about it on cleantechnica.com.
I think it's huge. Yep.
It is
All
huge.
right. So that's a wrap. Yeah.
Peace. We'll be back tomorrow with more EV obsession.
Hot news. And I got a tip from a former Tesla employee that there might be some breaking news coming. He's not privy to anything. It's not, but they've posted something on Instagram about that he thinks might be
well, they posted some interesting job search stuff a few weeks ago that we talked about. So it'll be
that as well. We should come back to that because no one else.
Why don't you just mention it now? Because we've still got time. So we've got about 5 minutes left on our time contract.
Well, he tipped me off to that they were hiring for a Tesla rental business, basically. And then as I dug into it, I realized it was Tesla rental business for Tesla insurance customers whose cars needed repair. So instead of, hey, we'll put you in a Hertz while we fix your Tesla, if you have, it seems like, this is based on the job postings, what they're launching, I guess quietly launching, and I still think people haven't picked up on, is a rental program for Tesla insurance customers who need a rental while their car is getting fixed. So it's again just integrating more of that vertical integration like Tesla is known for. It's like, okay, you've got a Tesla, you've got Tesla insurance, you've got an accident.
Well, more than that,
another Tesla.
Tesla has been accused in the past of withholding vehicles.
There's some kind of wind or something on you?
Yeah, that's the AC. It kicked on. Let me turn it off.
Uh-huh.
So Tesla has been accused in the past of artificially inflating demand for its used vehicles by not listing vehicles that it owned as available for sale. Where if demand starts to fall, they'll cut back on supply, and then demand gets up, and then they'll release more of their off-lease vehicles. I don't know if that's accurate or not. I don't know if that's fair or not. It's just something that they've been accused of in the past. And I wonder if this can't be another excuse for like, okay, demand is trailing off. We'll take all of these off-lease Teslas out of inventory, and now they're delivered to the rental. Now they're property of the rental company. So now we're solving the customer issue of loaner vehicles, at the same time reducing the number of Teslas that are on the market, used Teslas, right? Because you still have to, we talked about this a couple shows ago, you have to convince people that they need a new one, even though the car is basically the same as it was 5 years ago.
Yeah, and it used to be that if you did bring a Tesla in for service, like I would say back in the Model S and X era, or especially the Model S, S and X era.
Oh yeah, because they treated you like a god on earth if you had.
If you brought a car in for service,
as they should.
You were supposed to get a loaner Tesla that was better than yours, or at least as good or better than yours. And they were trying to upsell people, of course, and that was like that was supposed to be the policy. As long as I've had a Tesla in Florida for years, they don't have anything available. They'll give you an Uber credit. If it's long term, they'll hook you up with a rental, perhaps.
Yeah.
But it's like it's not.
Guy picks you up in a clapped out Altima, and you're praying for your life.
One time, I really
pushed you in traffic.
Yeah, I really pushed for a loaner one day, and I got like their own Model 3 that was like falling apart in a bunch of places. Like it was like more of a work vehicle, and but I was happy to have it. But it definitely no longer were just giving out Teslas, and so that's always been, I think, what they want to do, and they just didn't have the supply to do it. So now that they've got perhaps, well, I don't know, we could say a demand issue, or demand, a change in demand and supply where they can do this. They're doing it. It potentially helps them to keep inventory lower,
Yeah.
and but it's all,
Whatever
I
it
think it's
is,
really, but I think
yeah,
it's
they
interesting
found
that
a
it's
way to
just
make
for
it more
Tesla
profitable.
insurance customers, as far as I think it is going to be. But the teaser about tomorrow is from someone who's been the Tesla Energy Program Manager, and it's an Instagram post that says, "Special week for me and so many others. Tomorrow we go live. Thank you so much." And it's got a picture of Tesla Gigafactory Nevada. So I don't know what's going on, but it seems like it might be Tesla energy related at the first Gigafactory in Nevada. So
That'll be cool.
yeah,
All
we'll see.
right. We'll
We'll
see you
talk about it.
tomorrow and we'll definitely talk about it.
All right. Cheers.
Peace.
Oh, how do we end this?
This is all you, baby.
Yeah.